So, I've been gone for a while, but here I am. Hello. I'm still Annika and I'm still an amputee. And I've been posting more on Instagram and TikTok, but even there I really haven't been posting lately. And honestly, it's just been a rough year. It's been a pretty rough year. As you guys know, I have bipolar disorder, and my bipolar was just kicking my butt for the last couple months. I literally couldn't do anything. And that's so weird for me because I'm the type of person that I am the opposite of a homebody. I want to go out, I want to go do things, I don't want to be home. And yet, for the last couple months, I've been struggling to even get off my couch. I had to get my cat food one day, and it's a mile away. And it took me 3 hours to convince myself to do that. But I talked to my psychiatrist, and we went up on my meds, and I think they're helping. So here I am making a video. If you guys follow me on TikTok and Instagram, I posted a post. I made a post on June 12th about the real story of what happened on June 12th. And that sounds way more dramatic than it is. I promise it's not that dramatic. So if you've seen my other interviews, if you've seen me tell my story, I typically just kind of breeze over the fact that I lost my leg due to medical complications trying to remove a tumor from my foot. But I don't think I ever really told the full story to anybody who wasn't there. And so I have it on Instagram and TikTok, but here is the full story with pictures, with all the emotions attached. Yeah, so buckle up. And here we go. As you may or may not know, they found a tumor in my foot on February 1st, 2018. And this was after months of complaining that I'd been in pain, that my foot was swollen. We took an x-ray, and an x-ray didn't really show anything, and they just gave me the stereotypical answer, oh, it's a stress fracture, because every Marine has a stress fracture. On February 1st, they found out, oh, surprise, you have a tumor. And at the time I was stationed at 29 Palms, and 29 Palms is a pretty big military base, but it doesn't have a lot of medical there. So there was no oncology at 29 Palms, so they sent me to a civilian hospital. When I first got to this hospital, this doctor seemed very knowledgeable. She seemed like she knew what was happening, and she was an orthopedic oncologist. And pretty much immediately she told me, I'm not going to remove the tumor. And her reasoning was, because the tumor is so engulfed throughout my foot, because it kind of spreads throughout the bones and the tendons and the muscle, it would be too dangerous to try to remove the tumor as it is. So we're going to try to shrink it, and then maybe we can get to a point where we can remove it. But she said, absolutely not, I will not remove it. So I went in for several procedures of sclerotherapy. And sclerotherapy is usually used for varicose veins. And the idea was, the tumor, as far as they could tell, was being fed by veins and arteries. So if we can freeze them, I guess? I don't really know the science behind it. I'm not a doctor. But basically their idea was, if we could get the veins and arteries to stop feeding the tumor, it would start to shrink. Because at this point, every MRI we did was growing, and every single month it grew a centimeter in each direction. From what they could tell, it wasn't metastasizing, it was going to spread throughout my body, but it was growing really rapidly. So we did several sclerotherapy sessions, and honestly, it just made the tumor more angry. The swelling got worse, my pain got worse, and I was miserable. Keep in mind, this entire time, I'm in the Marine Corps, and I had finished my A school, my original schoolhouse, but I had to pick up what's called C school, which is even more defined in my course. And they wouldn't let me pick that up because I'd missed too many seat hours. Even though schools come super easy to me, I'm sure I could have passed that with flying colors. Because I wouldn't have the seat hours, they could not let me pick up class. So if I wasn't at the hospital, I was literally sitting in a holding platoon in a room with no windows. And that was awful on its own. Because I watched all my friends graduate, and then the class after me graduate, and the class after me graduate, and yeah, really disheartening. Anyways, this isn't about that. Fast forward to end of May, early June 2018. I'm gonna take off my leg. Ugh. I had a medical case manager, and she was with me on the whole thing, and basically at some point I'm like, if she's not comfortable performing a surgery on me, that's fine, but I want to find a doctor who is. So at that point I'd been in just over a year, and so if I got out administratively at that point, I'd keep most of my benefits. Not all of my benefits, because I think you have to serve 2 years, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. But I would have most of my benefits, and I could go find a doctor who was willing to do a surgery like this. And so we kind of agreed, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. But I had one more procedure scheduled with her, and it was a biopsy, because at this point we still didn't know what the tumor was. So let's go do a biopsy. I'm like, okay, a biopsy, that's super routine. We'll go do this biopsy, and then we'll start the process to get administratively separated with most of my benefits. June 12th, 2018, I show up to pre-op. I show up, I sign all the paperwork saying, yes, I understand what we're doing. And in pre-op, this doctor, who was not comfortable operating on my foot for the last 4 months, says, okay, I'm doing an open biopsy and a rescission of your right foot. And I go, whoa, 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 a rescission? You told me for months that you're not going to operate on my foot. I don't want you to do this. What changed? And she basically said, well, your foot's gonna be open, so I'm going to operate on it. And at this point, I am like panicking. I'm also 22 years old at this time. No, am I? No, I'm still 21. I'm only 21 years old when all this is happening. And I'm doing this completely by myself. I don't have friends or family around. And so I call my medical case manager, panicking. Like, I don't want her to do the surgery, and I'm in full-blown tears. And my medical case manager tells me, as a patient, you have the right to deny medical treatment. But as a service member, it will be put in your record that you denied medical treatment, and it really is going to affect your benefits. So basically, do the surgery, hope for the best, hope it works out, or don't do the surgery and get out with essentially no benefits and no way to find a doctor and pay for this doctor when I get out. So I go through with the surgery, because really, what other choice did I have? And I wake up from surgery, and there's 2 incisions on my foot, one on the top, one on the bottom, and they look awful. It's really freaky looking. Like, if you don't like this, turn away for like the next 10 seconds. But she did manage to remove part of the tumor from one side and could not remove any of it from the other. I believe she took it from the top, could not remove it from the bottom. And so she basically told me I couldn't get it all. We'll try again in about 8 weeks. So 6 weeks pass, and I actually get transferred to the Wounded Warrior Battalion down in Camp Pendleton. And the first weekend that I get there, my foot starts to hurt a lot, like out of nowhere. And it's hot and it's red to the touch. And I know, from my experience, that means infection. So I show up to the ER on a Friday night. By the time they finally see me, the doctor basically says, well, your white blood count's normal and you're not running a fever. Go home. Come back if it gets worse. So, okay, whatever. I go home, and on Saturday, it got worse. So I show back up the ER. Again, wait for a lot of hours for the doctor to just come in and say, well, your white blood count looks normal and you're not running a fever. Go home, come back if it gets worse. So now on Sunday, I show back up because it's really gotten worse. And again, I am told, you're not running a fever, your white blood count's normal, go home. So I show back up to my new doctor in Wounded Warrior Battalion, because the protocol is if you go to the ER, you have to go back and see your doctor. So I go see this doctor on Monday morning and say, hey, I was in the ER a couple times this weekend. Here's the paperwork. And she goes, why were you at the ER? And I showed her my foot. And her eyes got wide, and she's like, you need to go back to the ER right now, and I will call them to make sure you are admitted, because this is not okay. And when I get back in the ER and when I get put inpatient, I find out that it was cellulitis, which is an infection of the soft tissue, and staph, which, as we know, is a very serious infection. So I'm put inpatient. I'm in my own room, which is honestly kind of cool. There's 2 doors that any doctor has to go through, because they have to go through the first door, like sterilize themselves, put on all this equipment, and then they can come see me, because the infections I have are super contagious. Immediately, they're like, we need to drain your foot, so us as surgeons won't operate on your foot because you already have a doctor who's working with you, and she has her own plan and everything, so she needs to be the one to do this procedure to drain your foot of this infection. So when they call her, she says, well, she sees me in 2 weeks. I'll see her then. So I'm sitting in the hospital bed and be like, okay, what do we do then? And they end up deciding, okay, well, we won't operate on the foot, but we'll try to drain it percutaneously through a needle, where we're not doing any like big procedure, like a little bit of lidocaine to numb it and try to pull it out. And they pulled out, I don't remember how many cc's. I think they said 50 cc's of pus and whatever else is in my foot. And they called that doctor back. They're like, no, you need to see this patient. Like, you don't have a choice. You need to see this patient. And they literally argued. I wasn't there for that, but I heard they had to argue about it. Also, I met my command, my Wounded Warrior Battalion command, while I was in that room, which was a really weird experience, but fun fact. So they shipped me up to the hospital that she's at, and she does the procedure next day, and they actually have to give me a PICC line. And a PICC line is a catheter that goes in through your arm and goes all the way to your heart, because I'm getting really heavy antibiotics every single day, and it's easier than just doing an IV every day. So they give me a PICC line, and it's supposed to be an 8-week procedure. Every single day I'm supposed to get this antibiotic. At this point I've been discharged, so I actually go home, but I come back to the hospital just for these infusions. And it's supposed to be an 8-week procedure, and 6 weeks pass, and I get sent to infectious disease, and the guy who I see is a captain in the Navy, so that's an 06. And he's looking at my blood work, and he goes, wow, looks like everything's cleared up. Your white blood count's normal. It looks great. Let's take out your PICC line 2 weeks early. So they take it out, and I show back up to the ER, I think 2 or 3 days later, and I get sent away 3 more times. And at this point, by the time that I finally go back and do get admitted, they find out that it is osteomyelitis, which means the cellulitis never healed, and it spread to my bones. My bones were going necrotic. They put me inpatient again. This time we're not dealing with staph, so that's good, but they have to get another PICC line in me. And at this point, I've been poked and prodded so many times. My veins hate me. I remember that PICC line, they put a Lieutenant JG on me, so like a training doctor. And they're like, oh, this is perfect. She's young and otherwise healthy. Let's give you the job of putting the PICC line in it. And he failed 2 times, which is incredibly painful when they fail a PICC line. And so this other doctor comes by and he's like, okay, like, let me do it. I'm a professional. He tries to do it and my veins broke. So he like pulls it out and he goes, I've never seen anybody bend my equipment like this. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, doc. So they send me down to interventional radiology, which has all the cameras and scans and everything, and even they fail once. So me and PICC line's not friends, but then they get one in me and everything's good. And we do the full 8-week course. And at this point, nobody wants to operate on me anymore. Everyone's like, you are so prone to infection. We don't really know what to do with you. But at this point, I was begging anybody who would listen to cut off my leg because I was tired. I was in so much pain. I was tired of being poked and prodded. I was tired of being sent from doctor to doctor to say, we don't know what to do. The tumor's continuing to grow. And what are we going to do? At that point, I don't remember which doctor tried to do this, but I know it's been put in a lot of my records that it was very hysterical. But one doctor actually tried to diagnose me with BIID. And BIID is body integrity identity disorder. Basically the people that believe they should be disabled. And I thought that was ridiculous because I wasn't asking for an amputation because it was a random Tuesday. And I'm like, it'd be cool being an amputee. I was asking for it because I was in so much pain. I was so tired. And I'd seen amputees be successful online, on YouTube, on social media, that I knew that this was going to be a better option for me. Yeah, I got sent around to so many different doctors, and everyone basically said, no, we need to do X, Y, and Z before we cut off your leg. And then I would do X, Y, and Z, and they'd be like, no, we need to try another thing. We need to try another thing. And finally, after months of begging doctors, I came into my new ortho-oncologist because I could not deal with the original one anymore because I had a lot of beef with her and she argued with me a lot. But my new ortho-oncologist, I came in with medical journals that had listed why amputation is the best choice, what it does for people with pain. Like, I was obsessed with trying to figure out what was wrong, first of all, but how do we fix it? And finally, it was middle of March, this doctor says, okay, let's do it. I think this is the best option. And that was honestly one of the best things I had heard in probably about 2 years. And my surgery was on April 2nd, 2019, and I had signed my foot away. I knew exactly what I was doing. And this doctor comes into pre-op and says, you know, Annika, had it not been for that first doctor, I really believed I could have saved your leg. And that's a really shitty thing to hear. And I know I try not to curse on this page or anything, but like, it really sucked to hear that. At 22 years old, knowing you just went through all of this and this doctor says that to you. And I think the worst thing is he doesn't know that for a fact. Like, I feel like every doctor has a little bit of an ego because they have to, but he doesn't know that given the exact same situation, he would have reacted the same. But if he is right, and I went through all of this because of the negligence of that first doctor, that I didn't want to do the surgery in the first place, that I could still have my leg and be in the Marine Corps. And as you guys know, most of my amputation has been very positive, and it's been like I've done a lot with it. It's opened up a lot of opportunities. But that always really bothered me that he said that. And then I thought, you know, maybe I misheard him. Maybe it got lost in translation. I was on a lot of medication then. Maybe he didn't actually say that. And a couple years ago, so it was about 2 years after my amputation, I heard about a benefit that I shouldn't be entitled to. Spoiler alert, they said that I am not entitled to. Whole different story. So I call him up and I am asking him if he can fill out this paperwork. And he tells me again, unprompted, had it not been for that first doctor, I could have saved your leg. And I don't like thinking in what ifs, and I don't like dwelling, and I don't like that kind of stuff, but that really sucks to hear. And June 12th is hard for me every single year because I remember that surgery. I remember being there that day. I remember how I felt when I was told that I had to do the surgery. And again, I try to be positive as much as I can, but it's hard to not think of the what ifs when somebody tells you something as big as I could have saved your leg. I shared my story on the 12th, and I was a little bit more angry, I guess, than anything about the whole thing, but it was honestly really therapeutic to share. And what's come out of it is it's 2 days later and it's been seen by about 500,000 people. And everybody is saying, I hope you sued, I hope you sued, I hope you sued. But that gets complicated because can I even sue? At the time in 2018, you could not sue military medicine. But in 2019, you could. But the problem is that first doctor even military medicine? Because she was a civilian contracted through the military. Every other doctor who failed me, the ER doctors and the doctor who took out my PICC line early, those were all military doctors on military bases. But like the real origin of me losing my leg is that first doctor. Not only am I confused about that, but statute of limitations for suing military medicine is 2 years. In 2019, I had my amputation. In 2020, the world kind of shut down. So it didn't really come up. I've had people tell me that you just need to find the right lawyer who's willing to fight for you. But I don't even know how to start, and I don't know where to go. But also, like, I don't care about the money. Because so many people be like, oh, I hope you, like, made millions off that. I hope you did this. And I'm like, I'm set for life. I have healthcare for life. I'm 100% disabled. I'm medically retired. Like, I am set for life. But what bothers me is that doctor probably doesn't think about me ever. Once I wasn't her patient, I'm not a thought in her mind anymore. And I have to think about her pretty often throughout my life because I got this going on. I don't want her doing it to other people. And I don't want her altering anybody else's life as much as she altered mine. And if I do, then I'm opening up a lot of stuff that I've repressed and a lot of testifying, and I don't know if mentally I can take that. That was my story. That was how June 12th, 2018 will forever be an anniversary that I don't look forward to. But you know what? This is therapeutic. It's nice to be able to tell this story and to have other people also see that it is wrong what happened and that I'm not crazy, because during that entire process I was made to feel crazy by so many doctors. And so it's nice that other people can see my perspective and be like, no, like, you weren't wrong, you weren't crazy. Going back to the original, I haven't posted in a while. I'm doing better. I really think I'm doing better. I went up on meds and things are getting better. I appreciate you guys always. Thank you for being patient with me. Thank you for understanding that sometimes I disappear for months at a time. But if you want to keep more up to date with me, I feel like I post on Instagram stories at least every day. It's not always anything of significant, but like, I still post on there. You guys know that I'm still alive and kicking. I want to get back into helping people with their amputation journey, because I feel like that really helped me work through mine by helping other people. And that's what I want to do. I want to help people. So I think we're going to go way back and talk about a lot of amputation stuff in the future videos. I feel a little bit better. So I appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.